go ahead and start this portion and take it away, Michael.
All right, thank you. Share my screen here. All right, so you can see my screen okay, everybody?
Yep.
All right, cool. Thank you. So, as I mentioned today, we're talking about how to make your website ADA compliant. So, because websites are considered public places, they must be accessible to people with disabilities. So just like if you have a physical location, retail store, restaurant, whatever, I think we've all kind of gotten used to the fact that there's a lot of rules have to be followed. You have to have a handicap stall in the bathroom, all those things. And in fact, my family's restaurant got sued because someone came in with a tape measure and said, something about the stall wasn't the proper size.
Oh,
And yes, those kind of things do happen. Typically, people that do that, they that's what they do. That's not usually a normal citizen. It's somebody that does this to make money. So unfortunately, that does happen, and we're actually starting to see a lot of lawsuits happen with websites as well. So and I've had a lot of people ask me, obviously, because I do websites, what do you do? And of course, I follow all the rules when I'm building the site, but there's only so much I can do. And then even if somebody every time you update your website, you can put something on there that's not technically accessible. So you can't be sued for that. And they tend to go after smaller companies, smaller businesses, because they want you to settle. They don't want you to go to court. So they don't typically go after large companies. They go after little guys and ladies and small business owners like us, unfortunately. So the websites must be compliant with these acronyms. So website content accessibility guidelines, and there's of course the Americans with Disabilities Act. So why should we make our websites accessible? So I already got ahead of myself and mentioned the legal aspect, but before that, really, it's just the right thing to do to make your website accessible. I mean, that's really the goal of this, is so that people with disabilities can use your website. So should be the main motivation for it. Um, and it also broadens your potential audience, because if people do have a disability, they're still able to use your website. So that's good for you. You're able to access a larger audience. And it also makes your website more SEO friendly. So that means Google likes it. When Google sees that your website's accessible and the way things are labeled, which is what they're looking for. Even if you have an image on your website, sometimes people don't know if you need to name that image. And there's even, they call it alt text, so it'd be like smiling puppy, because if people are blind or have trouble seeing, they have tools that will actually read what the image is to them. And if you don't give it a proper name, it just says file PNGRQ. That's what it's going to read to the person trying to view your website. So, so again, that you want people using your website to know what's on there, what you want a good description of what that picture is. But also, just if you have that kind of thing, everything labeled properly, Google's actually going to boost you up, because they're going to say, this is a good website, responsible website. And also Google knows what that picture is about too. If you're not labeling things on your site, Google's not sure what it is either. So it's also machine readable. And then of course, as I mentioned earlier, it's the law. So you risk legal action if you are not doing this for your website. So a recent study conducted by SEMrush found that 3 months after implementing accessibility solutions, websites experience an average of 12% increase in overall traffic. So that's a positive. And then 73% review the websites experience an increase in organic traffic. So as I just mentioned, it definitely can help your traffic as well to make sure it's ADA friendly. So these are, those three things in red are what I just mentioned. And this is a direct quote from the article about this research that was on. The findings suggest that web accessibility is not only a moral imperative and legally required by the ADA, but also a contributing factor to improve SEO rankings and organic growth. That's a mouthful. So, question becomes, how do we make our websites compliant? So you can manually follow all the rules. And again, when I build a site for somebody, that's what I'm doing. I'm, making sure everything's labeled, images are labeled properly, all those kind of things when I build the site. But to go back to a website and manually follow all the rules can be very difficult. And even to know what all those rules are can be tough. So that's not really the best way to do it. You could pay a company to fix errors. And actually, again, me looking for a solution for this, I've talked with some companies, and that's what they do. They go through and they will do an audit of the website and then manually go through and fix all the errors. So that can be pretty expensive. And also the problem with that is it's a one-time fix. So if you change anything on your site after they've audited it and made the corrections, then you're still at risk that anything that you've changed and updated might not be following the rules. Okay, so not looking too good so far, is it? So of course we've got a good third option here to use a digital AI powered tool that lets users use accessibility features on your website, and this tool constantly monitors your site for changes. So that sounds like a good one. So this is what something like that looks like. It's called an access widget, and if you haven't seen it, you probably are going to start seeing, or maybe you'll notice now, sometimes you see a little floating, let's see, you see a little floating guy like this, little bit Vitruvian guy.
Yeah.
And if you click on that, it'll open up this widget tool here. And you can see, there's things for seizure safe profile, which I wouldn't have even thought of, vision impaired, ADHD friendly profile, which that actually takes off some of the flashing or spinning things, or even will change the screen so people can focus. These tools to help people focus, being able to navigate with the keyboard, screen reader for blind users. So there's a lot there. And you really need a tool like this that's going to be able to do those things for you. So you can see here, I've done, well, this is actually my website. So the tool I use, it automatically does a monthly audit, and it gives me a notice and lets me know if my website's compliant. And if not, what are the issues? This is actually a person that asked me to do an audit of their website, and it came back semi-compliant. So I'm not sure what, if they're going to want to use this tool, or if they're going to try to fix those things manually. Still waiting to hear back from them what they want to do, but using this tool, it gives you these nice reports. And it's also, 24 hours checking to see if you have issues on your site. So what is that tool, and what works the best? So there's a few things out there. So the tool I've been talking about is called Accessibility. And this is the AI widget that I showed you a picture of earlier. So there are other tools like this on the market. And here's just a comparison of, this is Accessibility. This is more like I mentioned, those services that will kind of go through your site manually. And then you can just get plugins too. Like if you have like a WordPress site or something like that, you can just get these plugins, and a lot of them are actually free. But you can see some of the issues though, and this is why I wasn't really a big fan of using these tools before, is they don't necessarily comply with all the legislation, these free tools. So it kind of looks like you're solving the issue, but in some ways you're putting yourself at risk too. And even I've heard some businesses put the free tool on there, but that's kind of makes them a target because it's not the right tool, and they don't actually comply with all the legislation. And so it sends a signal that you were aware that you had issues on your site, but you didn't actually go the full mile and fix it properly. So putting some of these free tools on there actually can make you a target to people that come after you. But do tend to be free or low cost. Again, just kind of comparing the pricing. Accessibility's, there is a fee, but it's less than paying a private company to do that for you. It's a pretty quick turnaround. So if you know someone that's interested in this, I would help set them up with the account, and then I would also add the code to their website to make sure that it's being monitored properly.
Oh.
This tool as well has the highest industry success rate. Again, if you use a service, even if it's great at first, any changes to your site, it's going to start being less effective. And then the free tools don't tend to cover everything they're supposed to. The accessibility tool, it's always rescanning every 24 hours. And then these other tools, I mean, you get the picture. It's probably better to use something like accessibility right now. And I've done a lot of research, and that's why I didn't really talk about this before, because I didn't see a good solution other really than hiring one of these companies. But now with this newer AI tool, it makes it more affordable and helps protect your website from risk. So again, just 20% of the population does have a disability. 98% of websites are inaccessible to them. So a lot of work needs to be done. So obviously, we want to make them accessible, and there's been a large increase in legal action as well over the last few years, and particularly in California. California actually has, again, I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is there's actually more rules and laws in California, and particularly around making your site accessible. So you are at risk if you don't have some kind of tool on your site. So, obviously it seems like a better tool based on those things I mentioned, but this is huge right here. And again, why I decided I wanted to work with this company is if you get sued, they provide litigation support. So they're standing behind their product, and you're not just it's almost like Legal Shield for your website. So if you have this tool on there and someone still wants to try to sue you, they're going to provide support for that. And because they're willing to do that, they don't really get sued too much. Usually people that know this company, they know they're probably not going to have a chance by trying to sue this. So really, this it's going to lessen the chance you even get sued. But if you should get sued, that's a big part of what they offer, is that they will support you in that and help you fight that case. So when to start? Now. So thanks, Carla. I recognize that laugh. You can get a free compliance audit on my website. I put this link in the chat as well. So if you have your own site, or someone has their own website, you could just make that request on my website. There's a little form there. Just ask for your name and your website. So as long as I have the web address, I can put it in the tool and get an audit for them, and they can see if their site is website compliant. All right, so that's how that works, and that's a tool that I recommend. So if anybody has any questions, I think Jeannie has her hand up.
Yeah, I might end up scheduling a meeting with you, Michael.
Okay.
But I believe, I saw it was $490 a year.
Yes.
Is that the least expensive to go with something like that? Because I make no money. I mean, I'm basically a volunteer out there. So
Yep, that's the cheapest plan. It starts at $490 a year. You could do it monthly as well. You can do monthly payments.
Sure. Well, that's not the issue.
Yeah,
It's
and again,
cost.
that's been something too, looking for a solution for this, talking with companies. I'm like, you're charging more than I charge for them to have a website to make it ADA compliant. So at least, it's less than that, but unfortunately, that's just the market that we're in right now, and
Okay.
so again, from the tools I've seen out there, this is the most reasonably priced as well. I mean, if you find something that's less than that does all these things, please let me know. I'm happy to change my partnership if you find something better, but I have not seen anything else out there that's less expensive either.
Okay, so if I schedule a meeting with you, are you able to show me how to make the changes or no?
So you want to manually make all the changes yourself?
That's my only alternative, unless I go with their free version, but you're warning us against that.
So the audit will tell you the issues you have. If you want to try to
Okay.
manually go through and make those changes, you can.
Okay. And
I
you've given me that.
Yes, I did do an audit for you already, Jeannie. So
Yeah.
uh so yeah, you're free to
Okay.
try to make, but even I'm looking at all the things that are on there. I'm like, I don't even know if I could do it. Some of it's in the code.
Yeah.
It's pretty extensive. If you're using their tool, it does all those things for you.
Automatically. Okay.
So for me to like even manually tell you everything that's wrong and tell you that this was needs to be fixed, I don't know that I could do it physically. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Jeannie, just if I
Thank
could
you.
chime in real quick,
Yeah.
ask God to bring you the $500.
Well, no, I know.
Because the fact that this one will also provide legal service, it's kind of like, yeah, how do you not? I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
give
and full disclosure, I'm partnering with them, so I get an affiliate fee, so I get like a few dollars a month. So I'm not like getting rich from it, but also
Sure.
I was more, I was happy to find a tool I could at least recommend to people because there wasn't anything I could really recommend before other than, I tell people there's a company that could do it manually, but it's very expensive. So,
Okay.
Curtis,
Thank you.